Hello, everybody. This is Mickey Mao with CartoonMoneyPrinters.com. Let's see here. It's been kind of an interesting month so far, but I am with Astronaut Toad. Why don't you go ahead and say hey?
Good evening, everybody. It's an exciting week. It's an exciting month.
Yeah, we got lots of news, some tariff stuff going on. I think, if I'm not mistaken, China capitulated and they're working on a framework for a deal. So that would be good. And I think we'll start seeing like individual deals start working out tariff wise, which will,
Yeah,
in my opinion, unlock liquidity and give a lot more bullish sentiment to the market as a whole.
yeah,
So
yeah. Let's jump into the technical analysis of how that's playing out on the charts and
yeah,
everything.
take it away, my dude.
It's really exciting um, to see the. I was gone for the couple of weeks on vacation, and I come back to these two monthly candles just shooting up past the previous level on Bitcoin. Um, so what we're looking at is a really bullish signal because, well, I'm going to go over this from every angle that we have, okay? I'm going to use basic market structure or ICT, and then I'm also going to look at our indicators and show you why everything is bullish across the board pretty much. So uh, that's pretty good news. Now, this right here, what I'm looking at is just basic market structure. Um, and what I've drawn is the monthly chart market structure. We had this high get put in, and then the low last summer, and then this after the election, or is November? Yeah, November, this giant massive candle here. We set a new all-time high, 109,000 and change. And then, of course, because of how massive fair value gap this candle put in right here, we expected a retracement into that. But look at how that 50% line held the close right above. So this is very bullish in terms of market structure. We got this dip into discount below equilibrium, and then it just shot back up last month. April was bonkers. It totally rejected this downward bearish doji here. And when we saw this month close, we would have expected a continuation to the downside. And we had a forecast that was, a little bit of a bounce here and then more downside. And so that's what we were expecting based on this doji of March. But April just shot back up, and then now in May, it is, the month still has 20 days left, so it could get bearish. But so far, this is looking bullish objectively. The expected thing is to take out the all-time high. That is basic market structure theory. When you see this, you expect the target to be this. And we can go down to the weekly chart and see how on the weekly chart, here is the market structure of this level getting broken right here. This is weekly market structure. So now we are in full on bull market structure for the weekly chart as well, because it came down from there and then now it's just up, up, up. So this is a bullish market structure shift. And that leads us back to, again, the all-time high. We could see now that this fair value gap is consumed, I'm going to get rid of that. From the weekly chart, we could see a retracement down. Let's draw a weekly range. We could see a retracement down into this fair value gap here on the weekly chart. that's giving you equilibrium. Look at how the equilibrium is right at the 50% of
That
this
is
fair value gap.
beautiful.
So, and again, when things really start to line up, I've said this many times before, I don't trade pure ICT, but I do fully understand it as a language that you can speak. And when things start to really line up, I pay attention. So what that means is we're going to set an alert for this level, 89,000, let's call it 90,000. When price gets down to 90,000, we start looking for long entries because, gosh, we're at 104,000. Can you imagine how terrified everybody's going to be if it drops back down below 90,000? And when everybody's terrified, that's usually a good time to get positioned. Okay? So we're setting our alerts for this level, 89708. There you go. That's the free number for all of you not inside the private Discord. That's the level where we're watching. Right around there. We could have additional, let's drop down to the daily chart. On the daily chart, we have put in a low, but there's also a massive fair value gap that, once again, let's draw it in. Kind of lining up. So this is a hot level. But on the daily chart, we do have to pay attention to this level right here. Range 1 day. On the daily chart, we've got equilibrium and a fair value gap at just 99,000. So this is your first long opportunity. You take one risk here, and then you wait and take another risk here. Okay, that's basic market structure. That's your free, not financial advice. I call it gambling advice. But that's today's market outlook for Bitcoin, and that's where we're going to be looking for longs, is in those two equilibriums, in those fair value gaps right there. So between like right under 99,999 or whatever, 85, right under 100,000. Look for longs, and right between 90,000-ish to 89 something, we're looking for longs again. Okay. And I like these levels because they have some historical, like this old level has a lot of historical support and resistance going on. You can see how this right here, in fact, I'm going to mark that in Alt or Option H to draw a horizontal line. See how this line was respected from above and below? That's really important and exciting to me. And it has not been tested this go around. So the fact that price got up here and it bumped into it, and then it got above it, and you can see it kind of bounced off of it from above, and then it got back down below. So the fact that this has not been tested, this is your entry, long entry of, a lot of people might be waiting down here, and then the train leaves the station without them. Okay. So what we could see is it gets down here and it taps that level, and then it just rips. See how this lines up with equilibrium right there? This, I would expect a very strong reaction out of this level. Okay. Now, with that in mind, let's look at the indicators that we have. We have the par, and we're looking at, let's hide the well, we'll put the drawings in a folder. Actually, I like everything neat and tidy. Folder 42. Wow, got a lot of folders here. So on the par indicator, this is our custom indicator that we really love using for swing trades and scalp trades, depending on how you set it up. these are all in minute time frames. And so what I'm looking at right now is the daily time frame. That's the big pink one. And then these two blue ones are the 4 hour and 5 hour or 6 hour, something like that. I don't know. But what we're looking at right here is a possible bearish divergence. So let's see. I want to make this nice and maximized. Oh, that's weird. I didn't do that. Oh, maybe that was looking at the Heikin-Ashi candles. But anyways, this is a bearish divergence. It's got this bump in between it, so it's not as strong. But the daily chart, this pink, is really setting up for a bearish divergence. So what that means is this blue has already rolled over there. So this blue divergence is good for, where's that close? It's good for 10 or 15 candles. That's how long we like to trust divergences. So measure that out. Somewhere around there. We're looking at this level, which I like. Maybe get down to below that low there. And again, this lines up with what we were talking about with the market structure. So if this daily divergence plays out, it could give us 10, 15 candles, and that could take us down to this level. So again, we're looking at that 90-ish thousand level. Possibly if it's not given much confluence to this level here, but
just to be clear, it's the
we'll
pink line in the par that he's referring to. So as price action with the candles is increasing, you'll see the divergence with the momentum in the pink line, and that's what we're referring to as far as the divergence. Specifically, this bearish divergence.
If the pink line were to roll over and fall right here, that would be a lower high than this previous one right here, right? But when you look at this high that got put in around this top here, and then this high, that is a higher high. And that's a pretty massive bearish divergence.
Yeah.
This is making a pump up, but then the strength is just not there. So what that means is that this pump it's up in thin air. There's nothing but there's not enough strength to keep this up, because the strength is not as strong as this pump.
It's a loss of momentum.
So this pump was a stronger pump than this pump. Yeah, and that usually means, especially on these bigger time frames, it usually means that this divergence is going to play out for 10 or 15 candles and drop. So again, we're watching this level. I'm going to draw it in this time with a price note. Here's the low. And then here is the market structure low. Lowest low is somewhere around here. So these are the levels we're going to look at. And then there's that fair value gap. That's giving you somewhere down there. Okay. So that's our par indicator, which is giving us that. And then looking at the market smasher indicator, which is here as Astronaut strategy, but it's the same thing. What we're looking at is it's just totally bullish, but it is also quite extended beyond above our moving averages. Right? So we got all this empty space. We're way up above these moving averages, and that together with our other indicators is giving us an indication that, hey, this might get, see, there's a squeeze. This is about to squeeze. See how this is just flatlined, and then the purple lines are converging, the orange lines are They're about to hit the purple lines. We have a full tutorial on how to trade this in our private Discord, but the Market Smasher is a squeeze-based indicator. How come I can't get my par settings back? Come on.
It's because you don't have the tooltip the indicator list dragged down.
I just want to be able to double click it. Let's look at the 3060. So the Market Smasher indicator is kind of showing us that, see how the 3060, this yellow and white line is kind of dropping down. It's making some lower lows here while this is just trending up. That's kind of bullish. So what the Market Smasher is telling me is that before we get all that retracement lower, like we had thought about based on market structure and the par indicator, Market Smasher is telling me we could have a squeeze right here. Let's switch to Heiken Ashi. I bet it's already started. Nope, not yet. I did get that winning long, so this has been the 4-hour chart has paid us very well on Market Smasher. We had this move up here, which was 5.9% in a day and a half. Beautiful. This one was an annoying grind, this trade here, this long. But it really paid off. It was 4% to the initial take profit, but now it's up 10%. So if you're trading Bitcoin on even 10x leverage, you're up 100% on that trade. But so what we're looking at on the Market Smasher indicator is it's still bullish, and so we might get a blow off top that goes even higher, and then it comes crashing back down.
Yeah.
And that aligns with the global situation of we're seeing signs in the global economic and political situation. We're seeing signs that all-out total collapse might be averted. Okay, I'm not an economist. I'm not a long-term, I'm not a hedge fund manager, but what I can say is we are seeing hope, and that started to take place over the last week or so, and that's what caused this. Let's pull up the micro bit.
Yeah, and just to add to that too, I think that we haven't seen the full effects of the tariffs being implemented thus far. So I expect there to be supply chain issues, and that's what will pull a retraction down. But once we make it through that, then I could see a bullish bounce once we recalibrate and rebalance.
Check this out. The NASDAQ, which just opened for overnight Sunday night, Monday morning trading, gapped up crazy. This is a massive CME gap, and that we will want to watch out for. This is the NASDAQ, so it's tech stocks and all that stuff. I'll pull down to the 5-minute chart here and see what I can draw.
I would argue that the NASDAQ is completely propped up by tech stocks.
Yes. In fact, the NASDAQ is now pretty correlated to Bitcoin because the tech industry is investing heavily in crypto.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so we can see the trading died on Friday. So all this price action that ended on last Friday ended here, and then the market has opened up for the overnight here, and we are going to want to watch for a retracement either overnight tonight or after market open tomorrow. This is the empty zone. There are so here's how you read this, because the stock market is not 24/7 traded. It is traded almost 24/7 on the CME, Chicago Mercantile Exchange, but it closes for 1 hour every night during the week, and it closes for Friday night and Saturday night and Sunday morning over the weekend. And so what happens is all this positive news, the tariff deals or whatever, comes out over the, over the past week, and then especially over the weekend. And so when the market opens, it gaps up like crazy. But there's orders to go long all throughout here. All these people, they wanted to go long, but they don't want to pay this much. So there's liquidity back here. And you have to watch all of this empty space to get visited. Okay. That's how a CME gap works. It's very important. And so that's, we're going to be watching. It kind of keeps in tune with our Bitcoin analysis of, we could have a blow off top, or it could continue up overnight tonight and into tomorrow, maybe into early next week. But at some point this coming week, we are going to see a drop back into some of this empty space, which would correlate possibly with a drop on Bitcoin. And look at this. We are, if this 4-hour par rolls over this blue line here, we are looking at a big old massive bearish divergence again. Okay. I'll draw it out here, that from this blue high to a possible blue high. This is not printed yet. It's still aiming up. But if it does roll over here, that is a bear div based on these highs here, anywhere around here to these highs here. That's your bearish divergence. Okay. So that'll be exciting. Let's look at the NASDAQ on the, the NASDAQ did just roll over bullish on all of the moving averages. So we might not get much of a retracement. Let's see, this fair value gap already got 50%ed. Yep. Oh no, actually it just barely missed it. Ooh. There's some liquidity down there, folks. Be careful. I like drawing these things in just because it reminds me not to get too emotionally attached to a trade up here. Say you get in a trade right here. You go based off of this all-time high or one of these highs, and you get into a long and you think it's going to the moon, but you get stopped out. Well, I don't know about you, but in the past, probably a lot of us have, we get into another trade, we get into another trade, and we get into another trade, and we think that that's it. But when you go back in time on a bigger time frame, the 4-hour chart, the daily chart, the weekly chart, whatever, and you look and you're like, oh, hey, this fair value gap is huge, and the 50% of that gap did not get touched yet. And then you say, let's draw a Fibonacci to this high, from this low to this high. And I got my Fibby. And let's see. I had barely touched the 50%, but not quite. And I don't know. I'm thinking that there is a ton of liquidity down here. So what that means is, if I get stopped out of a trade up here, I'm not going to totally lose it and revenge trade 5 more trades. I'm going to take the best entry here. And then if that best entry fails, then I wait until price gets down here. Or until I see an even better entry that is actually just valid. So that's how I avoid FOMO trading. I don't know if anybody can relate to that, but yeah.
I can definitely relate.
Do we have any requests or questions in the chat?
I want to look at hype.
Oh, cool.
My favorite coin. every show we're on, I'm like, let's look at hype.
NASDAQ got stopped out on this long. That's a bummer. It's kind of a weak long though, because it had this. Got stopped out on the same dang candle. That's brutal. And
for stocks, like I'm not leverage trading stocks, but I am positioning into them, and it's like holding spot. So I definitely implement like a DCA strategy when I'm playing the stock game.
Yeah. It's a bit of a more stable market.
Yeah.
So you can be a little bit more safe about just buying and holding. But
Yeah, I got Tesla when it was down low, and that fucking thing paid me good. I was like, oh yeah.
fantastic. Yeah, so we saw Hype have this just ridiculous squeeze, and we were getting in long at these lows, and this orange blob just kept going and kept going and going. But then it was February when we had that hit of the tariffs were getting real. And then China announced their own AI, and then, you know, blah, 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 and then just died. So then we had this dip, and you can see here, I'm going to hide it back to the 1 day, or let's leave the 4 hour as well. You can see here on the pink line that we had this low, and then we had this higher low here. So we had a bull div there on the daily. We had a bit of a bull div on the 4 hour as well. Probably also showed up on the regular candles. So I love daily bullish divergences or bearish divergences for getting positioned. Really, really awesome. However, we are looking at a double top here, which is a weak bearish divergence. But that's kind of bearish. On the plus side, I will say that look at how low this 4 hour has dropped already. I want to go down to the 4 hour. Yeah, see how this has given you from this low here? That's crazy. That's really bullish. It's not so much a bull div from here to here. Technically, that's not a bullish divergence, but it's close enough that I would call it that. So we're in this zone, and this feels kind of true of all crypto right now. We're in this zone of there's been a ton of strength. It's still showing strength. There could be a blow off top. However, the even bigger time frame, in this case the 1 day chart, is telling us that if it does nuke to, you know, if this does just rip up to into the 30s, that's probably going to be a short-lived pump because the 1 day is just maxed out. So I would look for a long here. Let's see. Now this 1 hour long just got stopped out, unfortunately. See what the 45-minute chart's doing. Nope. Yeah, 5-minute chart could have given this is a pretty decent bullish signal. It's not a valid trade because it has not popped a plus on our indicator, but it would be, if it had, it would be a trade like this, and you would target a 1 to 2 risk reward ratio. And that seems pretty realistic, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially with this ascending triangle situation we got going on up here. The problem with this is you now have very obvious signs of tons of liquidity above this level, but then also there's gotta be long stop losses resting underneath all of these. So it's just a matter of which is stronger and which breaks first.
Yeah. I could
Okay.
see it flushing
So
the liquidity on the downside to get the fuel to rocket up.
yeah, here's one thing I like to see. Look at this. I'm going to switch to the normal candles just to make sure it's true. I like to see when price is climbing and grinding up and it's cleaning up after itself. But then you get this, like, it just can't even touch it. And then it shoots back up. This is a bullish environment in which I would like to have a long risk. Because it tells me that this liquidity is, this level is being defended pretty strongly. And therefore, these levels up here are the new target. And then I can also kind of look at the chart and just kind of see how there are some lines going on along here that are kind of indicating there might be some algorithmic liquidity generation going on up here. This is a zone where I'd be like, yeah, there's probably some shorts waiting up there, because this, see how this is such a precise line. So I don't use, again, whenever I draw trend lines, I don't trade off of them. I just use them as advice or input that kind of gives me an idea of, hey, this line is perfect, or looks perfect for a reason. It's probably, only an algorithm can do that. Therefore, there might be resistance up here, or there might be shorts waiting up here. So therefore,
you want to pull a fib from that high to that low, and then drag it all the way over to the right. See if it has any confluence with the trend
which
line.
one?
From the high on the left, the peak high. Yep.
Yeah.
Is
That's a 786. I think we'll definitely tap the golden pocket. If it ripped straight up right now, it would be the 786, but I think it'll probably take a while.
Yeah.
Another thing we can do is a measured move, which is like this.
Okay, so Freedom Lover is asking about liquid. I'm still bullish on it. I did exit the position, and I took a
There
really
you go.
big chunk of profit that really helped my account. I looked back at it, and if I kept holding, I would have like essentially doubled my profits that I already made. So I've got a little bit of
Which one?
regret on liquid. It's not on TradingView, so it's hard for us to actually give a good analysis on a lot of these Dex coins that are coming out that are new.
I could go on Dex Screener and stream that chart.
You want to?
Yeah, let me pull it up.
So let me just read her chat. Hey guys, yes, I wanted to ask about liquid. Are you still bullish on it? Are you holding it, or will you ladder out a bit if it goes up a bit more? That drop was pretty brutal. I'm in profit now, but was wondering if it's a good hold. Also, in general, are you how are you guys trading now with everything being bullish, but the indicators are all showing bear divs on many coins, making things unpredictable? How to trade bull market?
How do you spell liquid?
It's LIQD. And it's part of the hyperliquid ecosystem, EVM. So it's kind of hard to find some of these coins. Like there's Fly, which is another one of my hodls that I was doing with liquid on hyperliquid, and the name of it's Hyperfly. But I looked into that project more too, and that's actually cool. It's actually AI that can help you essentially get into trades fairly quickly. So I think those projects that are decentralized that are have real world value and real use cases are gonna outpace the memes once alt season starts. And so, one thing I wanted you to look at is ETH, um, to check that out because that had a big pump while you were away. And the way that the last full cycles have gone is it's Bitcoin that pumps and it's like the dominant, takes all the air out of the room. Then money flows into ETH, and then from ETH it flows into like alts, I think, and then that's when we have the alt season. There's a little chart that we posted in the server that referenced that. You might be able you might be able to change its trading pair too, the USD. Not not hype.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Here it is.
Yeah, that's it. So yeah, I
Oh, this is interesting.
yeah.
Yeah. I don't really like how the volume died because this means when you see volume like this just fall off a cliff, trading volume, that right there is a problem because this means that either people went crazy short or they just capitulated and got out, but people gave up after this. So there's going to be some resistance, especially because of all these lows here.
Here's my thinking. A candle like that, I'm thinking that the creators sold their bags there. Um, they needed to make some money or some return on their investment, so they sold a lot of their bags because they were, you know, they made the project. So I'm sure they got pretty hefty bags.
Yeah, so this is going to be some resistance. I would imagine that this, we're below it, so it's a good long-term buy. But you can't look at this chart and not think like, hey, this level got bounced off so many times that what happened is everybody is tons and tons of people bought here. This is what this means. Okay, I'll hide this border or weaken it. Tons and tons of people for this whole entire length of time. This is how you read this chart. From here to here. So for 36 days, people were just gobbling up every dip and just buying and buying and buying. And then something happened right here and it just slashed down. This is the mid-late February. So yeah, there we go. That checks out with the market crashing. What this means is there's a ton of people who bought right here at an average price right at this 50% of the fair value gap. So between here at 0.02276, 0.02272, and the upper end of this 0.2546, at this level, you are going to see some really nasty slaps. Okay, that's going to get slapped hard.
And I bet you it's going to be people that have are going to try to shoot for break even and then just sell it once it breaks even.
That's exactly it. Because that's what I forgot to say is when you see this, you have what you need to know is you have a ton of people who bought right here and they want to get out of their trade. This crash snuck up on them and they have had to wait how many days since this got bad and scary? They have waited 80 days. They are at least, you're going to see a lot of people who are like, man, I got in, I got in for $1,000. I just want out. I'm going to sell $900 of it, and I'm just going to let $100 ride and see what happens. Because this is ridiculous, or whatever.
Keep in mind that this is only spot too. This isn't perp trading.
Yeah. So, well, we're on a decentralized exchange, so it's going to be gambly, even if it doesn't have leverage. But either way, my point is, this is going to get slapped because you got a ton of people who got in here and they want to get out at break even. They're going to sell most or all of their bags at this level. The 0.26 level is going to get slapped over and over again before it breaks above it.
So yeah,
if price goes slashing right through this level, that's obviously very bullish. But what I would expect is some slaps here, which translates into me saying, look for longs here. Look at how this level got front run. This high, this old high, did not get visited. So there's gonna be some juicy liquidity underneath this low here. That's where loads of stop losses are. And did the same thing happen here? Almost. You're gonna have loads of stop losses right there waiting, okay? So those are some levels to watch for longs. Let's draw a fib from this low to this high, see what lines up. At least this 50% level, the 0.0099. Like, people are going to be freaking out if it gets down to this level, and that's where you look for longs. And then if if it gets down here, you just pack your bags and pray to the crypto gods or whatever. I don't know.
So,
but
as
all
far
that
as
to say
projected
is
highs,
volume is increased. Volume is increasing here. When we look at it from here, we're like, oh, this is not that much volume. But as soon as I hide that, you can see price going up, volume going up. That is very bullish. So any price below this level is a good level to buy and hold. Again, we're gambling because this is a decentralized blah, blah, blah. But as far as buying lotto tickets is concerned, you're still in the green. But my point is, don't go all in right here and blow your entire lottery ticket. Get in here for a little bit and then wait for this level and get in somewhere there. Yeah, and then get in a little bit more on a retest of that high. So there you go.
To answer your question directly, I think there's room for it to grow, but start looking for exits. Unless you actually believe in the project.
Yeah, if you got in really low, if you got in down here, this is a take profit zone up here and up here. Definitely join in on the profit taking because that is going to slap hard. However, it is still a long-term hold because we believe that decentralization is the future in general. Mm-hmm. So if you're in from down here, time to start taking profits and take lots of profits here, but maybe not be 100% down, But if you're just getting in anywhere around these levels, it's a zone it's not the best entry, but you give it to this level up here and then take some profits, or you add to the position if it goes straight down here. We might get a situation where it's just it might just gently kiss this first level. The point, yeah, that's a whole number. That is 1996. Somebody's birthday is probably 1996, 1972. I'm not that old. It might just barely kiss that level and then get slapped hard. Okay. And then you look for something like that before you get in. Okay. So what I'm saying is, this isn't the best entry, but you still have some upside potential. And I would start covering that trade by closing some of it at any of these levels if you see a strong market structure reversal. But if it doesn't do much at all and it just goes straight down to these levels, then you're adding to the position, adding to the position. And you're putting your stop loss way down here below these lows.
Yeah, no, I was doing the same thing, Freedom Lover. I was DCing into it, lowering my entry for sure. And then
look at this. This is pretty ridiculous. I do want to point this out. even from the golden pocket to the original low, that's 75% drop. So if you're buying in and 1-to-1 leverage, you don't want to be very big on this position because you could be getting stopped out at a 75% loss without any leverage. Okay. So this is not a YOLO FOMO your entire portfolio is in this coin. Don't like any dollar that you put into this coin, kiss it goodbye.
I did make a sizable. I had a pretty big bag in there as I was lowering it. Eventually, the bag grew that big, and so when I got into profit, I essentially walked away with a 40% of my giant bag that was in there.
Yeah, well, these entries from way down here, I mean, you're looking at 1,000%. That's crazy.
Yeah. On spot, yeah, for sure. Another project, since we're here, do you want to look at Fly? It's Hyperfly. That's another spot hodl that I'm doing. Yep, that's it. Look for the USD one. It's the one with the H. USDC. Yep, perfect.
That's not good.
No.
What is this? Is this a meme coin
this project is an AI that's integrated with trading, so you can actually talk to the AI bot and be like, "Hey, can you open a trade at this price of Bitcoin?" And it does all the fucking trading for you.
Yeah, I'm not too hopeful about this. This is total degenerate gambling
yeah.
territory.
Yeah, that sell-off was brutal.
Look at that. The weekly chart is just one massive doji on that, almost that entire thing. And then you've got this. Wasn't that showing up? Okay, that's right. Not really a fan. This is a bad sign because I guess we could zoom in and see who's buying and selling here. Yeah, it got trashed, but still the somebody capitulated and exited their position.
Yep.
It did get bought up, but not much. Like, the buyers did not win. Look at this. Like, what happened? You had this massive crash, and then prices just fiddling around this crash zone for days.
So
and
look at those candles going up. Like, that tells me that they're engineering that liquidity before the crash. Like, they're like, all right, well, I'm gonna keep like doing a little bit of buy here, a little bit of buy here, a little bit of buy here, getting everybody bullish because it broke that local
when you see
high.
this, look at this. Look at it right here. You got this nice. In fact, let's pull up one of my favorite top secret. You can see volumes. This coin is getting hyped up. It's getting popular. Somebody really bought this dip. Somebody really tried to start a pump here, and then it just caught on right here, and it just took up. And we can look backwards through history and say, well, what happened? What happened is it got to this old high here. Which, does that correspond with anything? Yes, it does. It filled this fair value gap here. So somebody, yeah, see, there's a massive short or capitulation selling here. And so that's what you had this, draw that in. And this is just a telltale sign of you have a ton of bag holders and they want out. And so they're just dumping on unsuspecting buyers. And when that happens, I generally don't put more than a few dollars in it and I just walk away. You know, you can use Jupiter to set limit orders for your DEX screener on-chain selling. So there's no denying that this is a good buy zone. But you know, when you're at the totally degenerate end of your gambling, what do? You go in for a very small amount and then you just set your sell for, you know, 300% gains. Buy $100 and make $300 or profit $200. Sell for $300. And that's just lottery tickets. I wouldn't even be in for $100.
Well,
I'm not that much of a high roller.
Well, these projects actually have like something tangible to them, and I find like this chart makeout is pretty standard for every new ICO that comes out. Like
yeah,
you'll get the initial
and
release
it's
hype.
Really a waiting game. Yeah, it's a waiting game to see. Like, it may very well be. That's honestly, you know, 300%. That's not much. We just saw a coin that went up 1,000%.
Yeah.
So from the opening price to the all-time high, 300%. That's not much. What I want to see is this. You know, I want to see the volume getting this crazy again. This little blip. This is small potatoes. People are buying 40, 50 bucks worth of this thing. That's nothing.
Everybody's buying lottery tickets.
Yeah.
Cool. If you want, we can check out ETH next. Unless anybody else has a coin that they want to look at.
Yeah. I'll go back to TradingView.
I was looking at miners on Amazon. Obviously, I like doing Bitcoin mining. Unless you actually have a bunch of capital to throw at it, is not worth your time. They have these little lottery miners that you can buy for like $200-300, and so it just sits there, and you're just like praying to God that you get a block. And it's like, what a dick move! You have this like little lottery machine, you know, and you hit somebody's block who's been working on it for how long? Like, just go in there and snag it from them. But there are other miners I was looking at. I was looking at Cass and stuff.
This is getting exciting on Bitcoin. It looks like it's back up. It looks like my my short might get stopped out.
Yeah. Palmai.
I've been making.
RT's talking. He's checking out. I've never heard of that one, Palmai.
Oh, we just left DEX screener. Is it on the DEX or is it on an exchange?
I have no idea. I've never heard of it.
Yeah, look at that. I think we're pumping again. Good grief. Bitcoin Sunday pump, huh?
They want 250,000.
Crazy.
Can we look at TST?
Hold on.
It's called.
So technically, by the way, we are still in a long on the Market Smasher. So there's that, and it is just, I mean, it is right up there. We have here's the indicator, and we are at a 1 to, what's that, 1 to 2 risk reward ratio, something like that. And it's just right there. Honestly, I would have closed this by now because it got up there and then it just kept getting slapped, and I wouldn't want to be in it all weekend, but it's looking good. So it's probably going to tap that.
We got a request for Palmai on. It's on TradingView. Palmai is on TradingView, and then we'll do that after ETH, and then we got a request for BTC.
Oh, ETH already hit its. Look at that. Look at that. Kissed it. Does not get any prettier than that. This is why I love the Market Smasher. Look at that. Not a body of a candle below. That's a trade. That is a gorgeous trade. So 1 to 2 risk reward, so it was right around there. Just straight up from that entry to that exit, just absolutely kissed it. Let's see what we're looking at here. I'm gonna pull back the curtain, guys. Strategy tester. Oh my gosh. Are you seeing this?
Yeah.
Wow. That profit factor 3.0. Okay, guys, this is shameless advertising. In the private Discord, you can get this indicator, and we teach you how to use it. You don't need these long exit signals. We teach you how to use this strategy, this indicator, and it is printing money. This is the 1 hour chart. That is quite healthy. 24 trades is quite good. 22 trades, 45% profitable. It really loves the 1 hour. I don't know why. We could crank it up with Heiken 54. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, what is the other coin we're pulling up?
Okay, let's do Palmai first, and then TST, and then we'll close out the show with
that. How do you spell that?
It's PALMAI. USDT. Palm AI. I said Palmai.
Oh look, I made $1.70. Max drawdown $2.
Nice.
It's looking similar to the other coins, Bitcoin and Ethereum.
RT
so
says
that's
it's
good.
One of Becker's AI plays.
Yeah, that's looking beautiful right there. I mean, this short's about to get stopped out, so that's unfortunate. But this is a great example of a squeeze that fired in the wrong direction. You get all these squeezes and they're dropping down low, but then you're looking at the par and you think to yourself, hey, what's going on here? You know, this is a double bottom. This is a bullish divergence right there. Fantastic.
Just checking out the phone.
Yeah, so it's looking like it wants to rip.
Yeah, it looks rippy to me. Perfect little curve. Um, it's almost like a cup and handle forming. Um, TST, you want to check that out, or do you have more TA to do on this one?
No, I think this right here, like we have a stop loss for a short here, so we might get some resistance off this level, and you know, it looked along the bounce off of this high. So in this fair value gap, did long 0.39 something. That might be a good long. Okay, TST.
It's TST. I she was mentioning that it was on Bybit, but had a different ticker name. EST BSC. EST BSC USDT.
Oh, that's weird. That is weird. I don't know what this is. Oh, good Lord. That's a dead coin. What happened? You got a total squeeze. Like, this is just complete destruction. It is in the range to long, so that's nice. I'm not liking its behavior, though. It's obviously just getting itself stopped out on every entry. This could be a long if it isn't already. No, that long got stopped out. This thing is just not behaving. This is a badly behaving
I'm curious
here.
as to what the analytics are. Like, how much? What's the market cap? How much? How many coins are in here? What's the project even do?
Again, yeah, when you see something like this, and it did not have a heyday. This is my, when I look at this, this is my red flag. It might have had something going on before this chart existed, but when it gets listed on a thing and it just goes straight down and then barely pumps up and drops even more, what this would tell me, if this were the origin of the chart, what would this tell you? It would tell you that 63% of the coin, at least, probably more, was already held by people who wanted to sell before it was even listed. Okay, so think about what that means. Say you've got 75 or 90% of this coin is already in people's hands. They probably got the coin for free or they got it for an early investment. And so when it gets on this exchange, it just gets dumped. They are just selling. When you have nothing but 100% selling, that's a bad sign. And you can see, or you can hope that there is some form of manipulation, because all these people say they made millions of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars selling all of this. And look at that. It had this low and then it came up and just bam, totally. There's a nice little algorithmic signature here where it got grinded down multiple times. It's just up, just grinded down below that low. That's not good. And then more grinding. So you can look at this coin and say, hey, maybe there will be a manipulation and it's worth buying it as lottery tickets.
I mean, at 6 cents,
but
I would wait until it gets even lower than that.
Well, what we would do is we would look at the liquidations, the volume spikes. Like this had a pretty big volume spike on this crash here. So this kind of tells me that these lows are pretty decent. Like this low does not have that much of a volume spike. So this is a bit of a Actually, the volume here is getting kind of good. So this volume here is getting decent. So either the coin is just going to zero, which is possible, so don't get too invested in it, or someone's manipulating to get in. And what we can see from these lows is they are getting bought up. You're getting some volume spikes and then it's getting pumped, and you're getting some volume spikes at the lows. So yeah, this is a good level to buy a lottery ticket. But honestly, it's gambling. I don't like trading this type of thing because there's not that much technical analysis to be the way I like to do technical analysis.
None.
Well, when you see a chart like this, that's what you should think is this thing has been dead for a while and the manipulation is obvious. So it could stay here and never go up. It could go to zero. If it ever does go up, it is probably going to be a liquidity grab. So you better have your sell orders set. If you're in here on whatever spot or dex screener or whatever, you should be covering your trade at 100 some odd % profit. You know, you go in for $100 and it goes up 100%, you definitely close $100 of that trade, half that trade. And so now you're on house money. You do not expect it to just go all the way up here and be like, I'm going to get rich 500%, you know, 600%. Do not expect to to close a $600 position on a $100 buy-in. That is not going to happen. At least you shouldn't expect it to happen. Okay. That's my analysis on these. That's how you read these types of flatline coins.
With a coin like
this,
this,
flatline.
With a coin like this, I could see like a whale, a bag holder, like it's a whale. Like, all right, well, I'm looking to exit, so I'm gonna dump like $10,000 into it. You see this massive candle, and then that's when they're gonna sell when it's up high from the price action that they put in.
Yeah, and it's a game. They have, say they or an original seller of this coin, say they made 100 grand by selling when it came out, okay? Or they made a $500,000, 500 grand. What they're going to do is they're going to gradually throw tens of thousands of dollars at it just to get it to move. Then they wait for it to get noticed on the charts and like, oh, hey, this random coin is up 10% today or 20% today. And then it catches on. And then when other people start buying and it looks organic, they double down, they buy a little bit more and it spikes. But as soon as it gets up to a level that they deem profitable, that's when they sell again and it just crashes back down because they might have another $500,000 worth to sell. So what's a few $1,000s to get the price of the coin moving?
Yeah.
And you can do that assessment by looking on the dex screener, seeing how many people hold the coin. You know, the top 10% of holders hold 70% of the coin. That's not good, you know. Or if the volume being traded is within the range of the biggest holder, you know, like if the trading volume is however many $1,000 or $10,000, and the biggest holder has $50,000 or $200,000 worth of the coin, but the trading volume is only a few $1,000s, you're in dangerous territory. You're in manipulation territory. That's how you read those types of DEX charts. Always do that before you get super confident about a random dead flatline coin like this. It looks like a great buy. You're at this low. You could be getting bullish divergences here. Honestly, throw some lottery ticket money at it. Cool. But yeah, not for me.
Yeah. Well, let's go to call it here. Happy Mother's Day. Make sure to call your moms. If you guys celebrate Mother's Day. Just a little reminder. Yeah, if you want to join us and get access to these indicators, Yeah, go to www.cartoonmoneyprinters.com. You click the Star Now button. You'll onboard through Whoop.com. In Whoop, that's when you can do your payment. You link your Discord and your trading view, and then it'll automatically onboard the indicators and you into the Discord. In the Discord, you'll have to
Yeah.
do some verification because we don't like scammers. We have a very high security threshold in our server.
Virtually zero scammers in our Discord. I really like that.
Yeah,
And
I take that shit
it's a
seriously.
really great community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's why I
yeah,
yeah.
come
Come
check.
hang out with us.
Yeah.
I really like all of these indicators that we're using, and we do private tutorials for. We have in the private Discord, we have tutorials available on how to use our indicators and how to use our strategies. I am also available for private coaching on an as needed basis on how to use our strategies, how to use our indicators, and just coaching in general on how to be profitable. We do that a lot in the private Discord of just, hey, this strategy works and we know it, but what problems are you facing, psychology or this or that? And we'll be there in the private Discord to coach you, to help you solve your problems, stop FOMO or whatever, revenge trading. And we really support the community.
Yeah. Um. Yeah, I'm thinking about having a sale at some point, like a pretty substantial one this year, to try to get people to come to us. So be on the lookout for that. Um,
Yeah.
I'm not sure when it's
And
gonna happen.
I've been trading these strategies for many months now, and especially now with combining multiple indicators. Like, again, this is not financial advice because I consider myself just a degenerate gambler, but these things are printing money.
Yeah. All right, guys. Yeah, thanks for joining us, and then we'll catch you all tomorrow with Kermixalot if he's gonna be available. Yeah, no problem. All right,
Awesome.
we'll talk to you guys later. Bye.